Welcome back to the City of Palms podcast. This is episode 30, and the guest we have today is a prime example of hidden talent in Southwest Florida because I've known about him for years as a skateboarder, just being a very, very skilled skateboarder. But anyone I talk to about him nowadays, they say, I had no idea he was such a great artist. This is Jesse Jones, and on the internet, do you advertise all your art as From My Heart art?
Yeah, lately I've been doing that. It's not like, my brand or anything, but it's my handles on Instagram and Facebook. It's the easy way to find me.
Yeah, we've mentioned you in a couple different episodes, so it's cool to get you in here now. And you can see behind him is a painting that he's currently working on. So if you dig that, check out his Instagram. We'll plug all that at the end. But how you doing, bro?
Good.
I say that, but we just skated for like an hour and a half, so I know we're hot and sweaty.
Right, a little bit, but I'm feeling good today, for sure.
Oh yeah, I know Jesse a little bit, but you don't know him really at all. So if you have any intro questions or anything like that, go ahead.
Yeah, we can do that. Are you from here? Start out with that.
Yes, depending on here. I'm from Lehigh Acres, Florida.
Nice.
I was born in Fort Myers, but I grew up in Lehigh.
Yeah, you grew up skating veterans, or?
Yes. That's definitely like my second home for a long time. I did more growing up there than anywhere else.
So you skated when you were younger too?
Yeah. Let's see. I started at, I got my first skateboard maybe 12 or something, but I didn't really do anything with it until I got a real board from one of my my stepbrother's friends, and I think I really started at 13, 14.
True. So did you skate veterans before they changed what do you say about that quarter pipe?
Yeah, I think I was probably 15 or 16. You remember before the quarter pipes were more vert than they are now, and the ground was all fucked up?
Before they added the 4 inches?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was there before they even added the metal side at all. When there used to be a basketball court over there.
No way?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there used to be a basketball court where the metal ramps are. And it's so funny. There used to be fights and stuff because boards would go flying into their side and balls would come on this side and they'd beef it out and stuff like that. But we're not like that anymore. We don't care. But the older dudes did. I guess they got into some drama. But
Didn't you come out to? I think I remember seeing you out at Veterans when we did the thing with Level Skate and it was for Go Skate Day. I think a couple years back, maybe 2017.
Okay.
It was a game of skate. I think I rember seing you there.
Did Kevin win? Kevin won, right?
Kevin won.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, Kevin beat me. That sneaky dude. I always used to be so into games of skate too, super competitive, and I always worked on flat ground. Not so much these days, but that was fun. I remember that time.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember seeing you out there for sure. That was cool.
Yeah, that was cool that they did events out there. There's only been a couple little contests out there. It's been really rare, but it was always cool to go out there, so I tried to make it.
You gotta do more of that, just because it's so easy to just organize a game of skate. And
we almost got in trouble for it right when we
Really?
got there, and we started setting up. Somebody, a park ranger, came up and was like,
I remember
"You
that.
can't give away any money. No money can. You guys can't make any money off this." And we're like, "We're not. We're giving away money, and we're just giving away free food because they saw us setting up the grill and stuff." And they're like, "All right, well, you can set up, but you can't. No money can be made." I'm like, "Geez, all right."
Without them getting their cut or something.
Exactly, right. That's how that works.
That always makes me nervous about selling art and stuff, because I know it's kind of tricky with permitting and shit like that. Sometimes you gotta, I think art's different, but I know if you're selling something on the road, you gotta have some sort of permit. But
yeah, I don't know too much about that stuff.
I've thought about live painting at the beach or something like that, and just having a little thing. I don't think they can get on you for that. For people giving you donations or whatever, just
right.
watching you. I don't think there's.
Well, definitely if it's donations, you're good. I know when you do sell your art in public, sometimes that they'll have people going around checking to see if you're charging sales tax.
Oh, really?
And sometimes they'll get on you about that, but I don't know too much about the logistics of.
Yeah, and then it might be different too if you're at some sort of venue, right? Because if it's just you on at a skate park or a public park or something like that selling, that's one thing. But if you're at a bar and they've allowed you to like set up and sell stuff, I think that might be different, huh?
Right. Yeah, I could see there being an issue if like the people's property you're selling stuff on has a problem with it.
Yeah.
I could see that becoming.
Yeah, I think especially
something.
because usually the venues will charge you a fee for the table, and then that way you're like paying them to be there and sell your stuff, so it might all be different. But I don't know. I've never been in trouble yet, so,
Yeah.
so it's not that big of a
Cross
deal.
our fingers.
Yeah. So you like veterans, huh? Because I have a lot of people who hate it and like they think it's the worst skate park around here. And granted, like I guess it kind of is compared to some of the other skate parks, but I love veterans, dude.
I love veterans.
Because it's like it's almost
Definitely.
like a little DIY park, you know? Like because it's just got like everything, every little thing you need. Like I don't dig the metal ramps that much, but
Right. Me neither. Veterans is sick though, but it gets a lot of hate for sure. Like 9 times out of 10 when I talk to someone about veterans, they're just like, I hate that park.
yeah, dude, I've had so many good memories there.
I love it. Yeah, same. Like I've been through so many experiences there that like will never leave my mind. Like I don't know. Like I told you earlier, like I feel like I grew up there. Definitely.
Yeah, are there? Because I've seen a handful of footage just like from like Facebook and YouTube and just like throughout the years of things that people have done at veterans. But I'm just like, damn, because like having skated there, you kind of know how hard it is to do certain things on certain obstacles.
Right.
And I've seen there's tricks you've done that I'm like, fuck, dude, how did you do that? Is there any tricks that like that were you remember being like damn, I don't know how the hell I did that?
Me personally?
Yeah, you personally. Because I remember seeing kickflip crook down the metal hubba. I don't know how hard that was for you, but I saw that and I was like, holy shit.
Oh my god, yeah. That's funny. That's an interesting story too, because I learned kickflip crooks like that week or whatever, and it went from like I took it from the ledge to the hubba relatively fast. But I've always skated hubba, so that wasn't like crazy for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I was over there actually doing it by myself. I did like 3 before that. And then finally I was like, all right, let me go get someone to film it. And I got like this random person to come up, film it. And then that was really tight.
What?
Let me try to think for a sec. I know there's some tricks that like, yeah, I definitely would have never done again. Like this one time, our friend Utah, he actually lost the footage, which is like heartbreaking. But I did a really nice 360 flip, like best one I've ever done over the snowboard rail to flat.
No, to flat.
Yeah, like from the flat of the box top over the rail to flat. Oh my god, I felt like I don't know, Brian Herman or something. I was just watching Stay Gold and he did a few of those, but oh my god, it was so perfect and he lost the footage. So that's unfortunate, but I know I did it, so I'm still hyped.
That's crazy. When was there ever a point like when you started skating that you because you're really fucking good at skating, like I'm sure you get it a lot, but like was there a time growing up that you're like, all right, maybe I should focus on this and like maybe try to, I mean, all of us wanted to go pro, that's kind of like what, like a big part of skating is like, I'm gonna get sponsored one day and like I'm gonna be on the team and go on tour.
Right.
But was that something that you like really heavy pursued because you started noticing like you were learning pretty quick or anything like that?
That's interesting too, because like in my like heart, when I thought about like my progression and the tricks, like I was trying to get that good. But looking back, as I got older, I realized that like honestly I didn't pursue it in the most intelligent way. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't entering contests, I wasn't filming as much as I should have. I was enjoying it, like I was having fun and I was like getting good, and really really loving it, but definitely I've looked back and like seen where I failed, and I just don't think I wanted it that bad, or at least didn't have the right direction to actually get there.
Yeah. Did you ever skate contests?
No. I think I've entered like, besides like games of skate, I would enter those all the time because it was like fun and pretty easy. But as far as like the runs and I always liked best trick contests because I was good at like focusing on one trick at a time, like really hard one, but I wasn't as good at putting together like a run, so I kind of stayed away from those things. And I used to get like butterflies and get nervous, and I could never get over that.
Mhm. It's almost like a different type of skating to have that. I mean, a lot of skate park kids just have it because they like skate the parks that way no matter
the
what.
flow.
So they can so they can just flow and make runs like nobody's business. But I was always like, I skated parks like Veterans and skated street and like stuff like that. So I was more of like that, either like one trick or just like a line of a couple tricks. I wasn't really in the mindset of like go up the quarter pipe, do a quarter pipe trick, right when you come down, do a box trick, and like put it in a run. So I didn't really skate contests either.
I always went to them though. I used to love like watching and
Yeah.
stuff like that. It was really good.
Have you ever been to any big Tampa contests like Tampa?
No,
Tampa Pro?
dude.
Me either.
No. Wow, at least I'm not the only one.
Yeah, I feel like I'm missing out. We live right next to Tampa, you know?
I know, dude. I'm flagging so hard with that. Like, I just haven't made it happen. But I think I need to go to like the next one.
Mm-hmm.
I have to. Like,
Yeah.
we are so close.
Because it's
like,
not even expensive either. It's not even like you got to pay for a bunch of the big ticket or something. I don't know how expensive it is, but I don't think it's that much.
It was
$20.
What?
Yeah.
You went?
No, I didn't go. I was gonna though.
Yeah, you were gonna go. That's right.
Yeah.
Were there any skaters as you were growing up? Like, were there any couple of like key people that you looked at as like? Was Andrew Reynolds one of your favorite skaters?
Yes, for sure. I used to love Andrew Reynolds. You mean pro? Like,
yeah. Or any dudes that like were in the videos and magazines, Am or Pro or
Sure.
whatever, that you looked at as like, hell yeah, bro, I want to skate like that guy.
Definitely Andrew Reynolds. I don't think I ever got to like I don't think I ever tried to like necessarily skate like him, but I just appreciated, like, I loved his skateboarding.
Yeah,
He does a lot of stairs and stuff, and I like was more into like rails and ledges and hubbas and like stuff like that. But used to love Andrew Reynolds, Justin Figueroa.
Yeah.
Figgy. Oh my god, I love that dude. He's so good. Oh, there's so many, dude. I gotta get at least a couple more in there. Oof.
A lot of those America dudes were always my favorite.
Yeah, I
Brian
always loved
Herman,
America. Brian Herman, he's amazing. Oh my god. It's so funny. I haven't thought about this in so long. But
yeah, especially because you usually have like a whole big list of people.
yeah,
you know?
right.
It's like usually people don't just have like one or two.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But definitely a lot of like the, Baker dudes. I used to love that. America. Just all of it.
I always think it's kind of weird how like it seems like when we were growing up, like that was sort of like what was cool was like that whole like piss drunks, like Baker, like just like go for it, gnarly, like Dustin Dolan was one of my favorite dudes ever because he was
Dustin
just like
Dolan's a beast.
like, and I remember in 5th grade telling me and my friend Tyler, like I don't even think I really skated that much, but I like was starting to kind of like get around to it, and he was like a little skater kid too, and I remember telling him, because I was a big fan of like Bam Margera and like Dustin Dolan and things, I was like telling him that I was like gonna drink a lot whenever I was I don't know why, but I said I was gonna have pierced nipples and I was gonna drink a lot or get drunk all the time or something, and I was in 5th grade and I don't even drink now or anything like that, but like I just thought that was funny. What did he think? Little 5th grade friend is like, yeah, I'm gonna jump downstairs and get drunk. But nowadays it's like switched, where like now it seems like the cool thing is to like Neen Williams vibe, where it's like working out and getting healthy and like taking care of your body, and I think that's cool for the kids.
Definitely. I think that image that they gave off kind of maybe like hurt people more than it helped. And
especially the longevity, like you can't really you have a long lasting career when you live like that.
No, definitely not. And like you said, it's at least they've learned. And it seems like a lot of the dudes like on Death Wish and Baker and stuff, they're the opposite now.
Yeah,
and they're learning from their mistakes, and that's good at least to see. And I think that now for the younger generation is it's a good message.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, but I don't think the gnarly aspect of skating will ever change. There's still
you still need that, but
and, like just going for it.
Yeah, the partying and stuff can chill though.
Yeah,
you don't need that, especially if you want to get as gnarly as people are these days.
Yeah, you see, I mean, Nigel drinks a lot, but I feel like he's fairly responsible about it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, hopefully.
I don't know. I don't know the guy.
I mean, he's performing, so.
Yeah, and from what I've heard, it sounds like he's like calculated about when he like if he's got.
I could see that.
He'll like kind of chill a little bit, but who knows?
Yeah.
There's people that could do it. I don't know. Like Dustin Dalton, I feel like he's drunk all the time. Granted, he doesn't really do a whole lot anymore, but
Yeah.
for a while he had like alcohol in his veins and was just jumping down the craziest stuff.
Yeah, hopefully he's healthier these days.
Yeah, I hear he's gonna have a part in Baker for Life.
Oh,
the
no
new
way.
Baker video. Yeah, and I heard.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Baker for
Life.
Life.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah, and
I didn't know that.
I heard. I think he posted something on Instagram saying that Reynolds, he was like at the hospital, like with a band on or whatever, like getting surgery, and because I remember in his interviews he says how many like knee surgeries he's had and shit, just like tearing his ACLs all over the place, and I guess Reynolds. This may have just been him saying this, but he said Reynolds is paying for him to get healthy so he can have a good part in the new Baker video. And how tight would that be if he's like actually low key like grinding and like gonna like do some crazy stuff?
Yeah, he's like working out and like
yeah,
some
for real. Like Rowley, Jeff Rowley, I thought he was like kind of like past big video parts, and he just released that Vans thing that was gnarly as hell, dude.
Oh, okay, I didn't even see that.
Yeah.
I miss so much these days.
Me too. Yeah. Especially because of how instant it is. I'll look at a couple big things that happen, but like I don't watch videos like I used to. I used to like research that stuff. You know?
Yeah.
There's just so much coming out these days too.
Yeah, it's hard to keep track of it all. There's so many companies and so many videos and Instagram.
Yeah.
So where does art come in? Like, because surely you've done art just throughout your childhood and stuff like that, just kind of like doodled and drawing and stuff like that. But where did you like kind of start doing art projects and whatnot, aside like past the skating?
Oh, so after skateboarding?
Was that was more recent, right? Like because you've always, I guess, how do I put this? Where did art start for you? Like, was it just drawing pictures, or like have you always been a painter?
Let me take you to the beginning.
Yeah, let's go to the beginning.
But no, it started as like so back in the day I would watch like Dragon Ball Z and all these things and cartoons and stuff, and I think I started drawing in the earliest I remember drawing I think is about 2nd grade, and I would just doodle. I'd try to like draw Dragon Ball Z, my favorite characters and stuff like that, and I remember I did have art classes in 2nd, 3rd grade, but then after that I kind of like I just could not get into art classes in middle school and high school. It just didn't happen, and then when it did, like the teachers were just really not into what I was doing, and like it really turned me off from it for a while. So it stayed as like I was like doodling and lots of drawing. I never really painted for a long time. I would do like when I did start skating, I would draw, like use paint markers on like my grip tape and stuff like that. So like that's the kind of painting I was used to a little bit, and I didn't really do that too much. But after I think after I like went really hard with skating in like 2017, 2018, towards like the middle of that, and then I got hurt, and I was like kind of like, all right, like in this like, I was focused on that for so long, and then like I got hurt, and I was like kind of realizing that I kind of had to do something different. And I'd always kept drawing and things like that for fun on the side, but I was like, man, I would never finish anything, like make finished pieces. It would be like doodles in my books and stuff like that. So I made a conscious decision to like make works of art and pieces. And then I took Chris Dyer's
I wanted to talk about that
workshop last year at Art Basel in December, because I was just like, I had started my art account and like started kind of taking it seriously, but I was still doing like Sharpie pieces on paper, and I was like, man, I'm seeing all these beautiful painters, and I'm like, dude, I want to be like one of these people. So I want to make, just like the finish on paintings is just like amazing. Like you can't match that on paper. Just the vibrancy of colors and all that. So I was like, I saw he had a class coming up, a 4-day workshop during Art Basel, and I'd never even been there. So I didn't know what to expect, and I made it out there and learned so much in those 4 days that like, oh my God, it's like one of the best experiences of my life. not only his workshop in general, but being in Wynwood during Art Basel exposed me to so much. Like, I had no idea art was like that. You know what I mean? Like, I'd never dived into the scene of art and like the culture around it too much. I had just done things on my own, and when I saw that, I realized like what you could really do and what people were doing with art. Like, it was amazing, dude. And then ever since that, I've been like just working hard as hell, just trying to
it seemed like that
evolve.
was like a launching point. Just from my perspective, like seeing the social media and stuff, I could tell that like you were a great artist, and then that was when it seemed like once you met with Chris Dyer and like seeing his shit in general, just him like as a person and an artist, I'm sure that could inspire you, and I could see it like from that point was when you really started. I'd see you at Kava, and you'd be like, I'm starting to like try to do this, and I'm like, dude, please do it. Like me and Darby said, like, bro, I can't believe it took you so long, because like you seriously kill it. What did you get to see all the exhibits at Art Basel and stuff too, or were you more just like?
I saw the Wynwood walls, and like there was a couple galleries attached to that area that I walked into, but I didn't really take like the Art Basel tour that like most people are doing. I kind of stayed around his workshop because you know, I was learning so much. I was pretty much in there. We went to get food at the Wynwood walls and check those out, so I just went with them, and that's why I saw that. But really, my beacon was like, you know, home base was right there, and I tried to soak up as much as I could inside that gallery. I spent the 4 days there, and then we actually, me and my girlfriend went back the next weekend for the actual opening of his show.
So do you guys, did you say that you stayed there? You stayed like with them or something like that in that like that area? You didn't have like a hotel?
No, I did have a buddy lined up that lived out there that I could have stayed with, but honestly, when I got there, I was like, I don't want to leave this place. Like, so I just stayed there until I was just planning on staying there until someone told me I had to leave, and
they didn't tell you to leave.
Before you knew it, no, they were like, all right, well, you know, we're all kind of leaving, and they gave me the keys to the gallery and said I could sleep there. So
what?
So they trusted me. Like, Chris is such a cool dude. Like, one of the best people I've ever met. And like, when you meet him in person, it's like, I don't know, like, I haven't met that many people that are like, quote unquote, like famous or well known. Yeah. But you know, some people, you hear stories where people are like different in person. Yeah. And like not what they expected. He was such a genuine dude. It was awesome. He's a skateboarder, and like we're skating in the gallery and stuff, just messing around, and it was awesome. But yeah, they let me stay there, so I just slept on like the ground for 4 days and just tried to soak up as much and learn as much as I could, because you know, he's setting one thing that was so inspiring about seeing him doing what he's doing is he's so, like, he's a workaholic. Like, he's always working on something. Like, and besides like learning about the art aspect and techniques and stuff, that was so inspiring to me. Like, every day he's teaching a class, he's got a group helping him set up for a gallery show while he's working on his own personal pieces, and then every night he's working on this big mural all night on the side of the house, like, or on the side of the gallery, sorry. And then it's just wild, dude. Like, that alone was just so inspiring. Like, just the work ethic of this like amazing artist. It was so sick, dude.
I'd love to meet him. I can only imagine like where your mind was at, because seeing his work like just on social media and stuff is awesome and inspiring. But I imagine being with him for that time and seeing like the process of some of his pieces, because you guys, I said this in Darby's episode, but you two have similarities as far as like the intricacy of your paintings, and that's why I think all your murals that you've done so far, I'm so hyped on them, because it's like the longer you look at it, the more little tiny details you can tell that you put in it, and especially with the markers that you use. With that one behind you, is that with marker too?
No, I've actually been trying to distance myself from the markers a little bit. That's how I started, because it was a good transition, and you know, I was drawing on grip tape and stuff with paint markers, and it was a good transition into painting. with acrylics because, you know, I was doing Sharpies before, and then the paint markers were like the same thing but with paint. But I really, you know, brushes are really hard at first. But I really wanted to get into it and be like, you know, a fine artist and just use brushes. Like there's more you can do with brushes, like way more. But yeah, at first it was really hard, but that's like my next venture is like, you know, evolving. I'm trying to get really good with brushes, and it's been really fun.
Yeah, because I noticed, because I was looking at that one earlier, and I can like see some of the strokes that usually in the ones with markers you don't see it as much, but
Right.
that's really, I'm kind of in the same boat where I've never really like used brushes. I always just use the markers.
Yeah.
And I don't make like finished pieces like you do. I'm not on that level, but like I'm trying to.
Well, you do with the stencils.
Yeah, with spray paint I do. But I have a piece going in there that I've been working on with brushes, but I'm so like,
oh really?
I'm at like level 1 right now. Like I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but it's fun.
It's so hard at first. This one's actually a collaboration with Kevin. He's you know Kevin, right?
Yeah.
He live paints all the time.
Okay, that makes
Cava.
sense.
So we're both working on that one actually.
Nice.
And working with him specifically has been like that's like another artist that I've met that's like really changed my life. I've met him, you know, less than a year ago, probably like 6 months or something, and that's changed my life too. Just collaborating with him and learning things, and you know, just like when you collaborate with artists that's like on the same level as you, and you guys are trying, not like same level, but you guys have the same like goals kind of, and like different styles, and like when you collaborate you learn from each other a lot, and it's been really fun. He's really good with brushes, so I've been learning a lot with that.
Yeah, he's formally educated, right? He just graduated from FGCU with a degree in art.
Right.
That's awesome. It'd be cool to talk with him because I'm sure he knows a lot of interesting things to benefit your art.
Right, he's doing some really cool things. He's a beast.
All right, I want to get more into some of the more specific questions with your art and stuff, but we're going to take a quick break, and you all watching can enjoy the ads in the meantime. We'll be right back. The City of Palms podcast is brought to you by Anchor. Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? When I was trying to get this podcast off the ground, I had a lot of questions, like how do I record an episode? How do I get my show onto all the apps people use? How do I make money from the podcast? And the answer to all this is really simple: Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. And best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. And now Anchor can match you with great sponsors who want to advertise on your podcast. That means you can get paid right away. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now by reading this ad. Me and Danny searched all over the internet for different outlets for distributing and recording, and for websites that would host our podcast, and a lot of them you have to pay money, or it's really complicated, and especially for someone just starting out. And Anchor really was an answer to all that, because you can record straight on Anchor. It's very user friendly, and it's totally free. We don't have to pay a penny to use this, and so it's great for anyone who's wanting to start out. And so if you're wanting to start your own podcast and make money doing it, go to anchor.fm/start. That's anchor.fm/start to join me in the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast. All right, we are back. I hope you enjoyed those ads. And getting right back into it, one question I had is I was wondering what like your process is sort of when you start a painting, because I'm thinking you probably don't have like the vision of it at first, right? Is it more of like a stream of consciousness type thing where you'll like because with your doodles were like that, right? Where you would like start with something and then eventually it'd just be so intricate and turn into some big elaborate thing. Is that kind of how your paintings go too?
Right. It's sort of like mixed. One thing I've tried to do more over the past year is be more conscious about my paintings. So, you know, there's a level of subconsciousness where things come out, but I always sketch everything first. So when I get a canvas, sometimes I'll even draw a grid, but I sketch out my main idea, like where the black lines are going to be, you know, the forms and all that, and get a good get a solid like blueprint for what's going down. And then I usually, and obviously sometimes I switch it up, but for the most part, this is how it goes. But then I get it sketched in. I do all the outlines, and then I start to block in colors, like big colors that I know need to go certain places, and then as I'm coloring it, it starts to like evolve for sure. Like that's when, you know, the fun part is, and like, you know, things start to happen with like little details and all those things. And
That's crazy.
I just try to fill up the whole thing until, I don't know, it's a really interesting thing. Like a lot of people tell me like, oh, that looks finished, and I'm like, no, you know, that's how it is.
Like
as
that
an
one behind
artist.
you, yeah, I would have guessed that was finished.
Right, yeah, that's like 80%, maybe 75.
And I noticed that about the last collab. I don't know if it was the most recent collaboration, but there was one you did, another collab you did with Kevin, where I would watch you a couple different times. I saw you were painting on it, and I was thinking that, where I was like, dang, that's looking pretty near done. And the next time I see you, you'd still be painting on it. Bro, I can't wait to see when it's actually done.
Right. Was that the one with the dragon?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I love that.
That one was sick.
So what kind of paints do you use? Like, is that like acrylic?
Yeah, everything I've done to this point has been acrylic for the most part. Paint markers have acrylic in it, and then right now I've been working with acrylics. I use Golden and the Liquid-X professional paint. Those are some nice high quality paints, and they work really good. They actually have like sealants and stuff in it that like really help.
That's awesome.
Keep
This might be a
things
stupid
permanent.
question, but like as far as brushes go, do you have like a bunch of different size brushes that you're constantly like switching back and between?
Yes.
Because it looks like that's like so intricate. I don't know how those like things like how you paint it.
Oh
like,
yeah, I know, and the flower
or-
too, the little details.
Oh,
in
I
the
mean,
flower.
all that is just insane.
So I start with I have tons of different brushes. I use some people use like the flat ones. I use like the pointy ones for the most part. And as I go into detail, they start getting smaller. So when I'm, you know, I might be working with a brush this fat at the beginning, and then by the end, it's like a toothpick at the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one of the beauty of brushes is like, you know, if you were to do that with a marker, you'd need a marker for each thing.
Yeah.
But you can have one tube of paint with all these different applicators that can do like crazy different things.
And all the different brushes can apply paint in different ways, rather than a marker is pretty much like the size of the tip. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Which is good for certain things with a marker, but a lot of people have a problem with brushes, like I did. You know, you have too much control over what you can do, and there's too many possibilities. So so when you first start, it seems like you're out of control, and you can't make what you want to, you know, you can't make the mark you want. But, you know, with practice and, you know, experimentation, you start to realize that, like, you know, oh my God, like, this is way better. Like, I can do so much with this.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Do you, I don't know if any of your recent paintings have this, but, like, if something like me, if I were to do, like, a Dragon Ball Z character or something, and, like, paint it all with all, like, I wonder how, Victor does it with his, like, if the black lines at the end to like the final black lines you do over everything, that seems so hard to me to do with like a fine tip brush to get like those like exact lines where they need to be. And someone like me, I might just use a paint marker for that step, but that might be considered like cheating or whatever. But have you tried to, I don't know if you've had any paintings like that where you've done it all with a fine brush. Was that difficult?
The outlines?
Yeah.
Or
even just some of those little intricate lines, like with a little fine brush. That seems really difficult to me.
You get used to it. I mean, you know, it's a learning thing. At first, it's really hard to get like a precise line because you have to be really careful about how far, how much pressure, you know, how much the brush is spreading out. They do make liner brushes that are long and they actually glide across the whole thing.
Oh, really?
So you can, you know, pull it. And if you have like wet paint, like if you're dry brushing, it's going to be a little harder, but if it's a lot smoother if you have wet paint on wet paint and you're doing a line on top of that, if that makes any sense. It just goes a lot smoother. And yeah, it's hard at first, but it's, you know, it's something to learn. You know, you learn how to like steady your hand and And then you can always clean it up later if you want.
Mhm,
That's the
yeah.
beauty of paint too. You can layer, and if you mess up, you can just keep working it if you want.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Do you use any like paint additive like to like take out the brush strokes or something like M1 or anything like that?
I don't even know what the fuck that is. How do you know what that
Yeah,
is?
I don't even know what that
So I'm
is.
an interior painter, so I paint like houses
Oh, I
and stuff
see
like
what
that.
Oh, okay.
So like if we go to cut in, I'll cut in like that ceiling or the wall because the ceiling stays white, walls are different color.
Right.
So or if we're painting trim, typically like baseboards and stuff like this, like real nice stuff in Naples, we use latex paint and we'll have like a like semi-gloss for the trim, and we will pour M1. It's like a paint additive, and it helps eliminate brush strokes.
Okay, I have heard of it actually, but no, I've never
Or
used
they
that.
have like Flow Trail.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
There's tons of stuff you can do. That's the thing about like brushes and painting and paints and stuff.
Mhm.
Like there's so much you can do. You can do glazes where it's like semi-transparent, and you can paint just the values in with black and white and then color it with a glaze, and then it looks like the whole thing was painted that way.
Okay.
Like I said, like when you start painting with brushes and paints and stuff, like there's so many possibilities. It's so wild, and it just takes a lot of experimentation.
Mm-hmm. You've done a little bit of street art too, like you painted the ramp at that DIY spot, and you painted that the mural at the Madhouse and stuff.
Yeah.
Did you? And you did one for
Yeah, the Madhouse looks so cool right now.
Yeah, you
Thanks,
did
bro.
you did a couple others too, but were there any that you were super stoked on that were like a learning process from start to finish, and by the end you're like, hell yeah, man, I did that.
Pretty much all of them. I mean, were like that for sure. Like spray paint's really hard, dude.
Yeah.
Like to get things right, like it's so hard, but it's so cool to make big art like that. Like
Yeah,
the Madhouse we did in one night, like
that was so sick, dude.
a long night, but but yeah, me and Kevin were like going hard on that thing.
Does he have a lot of
killed
experience
it.
with that? With spray
Yeah,
paint?
yeah, he's definitely well versed in spray paint. He's been doing that for a long time. That's why it's so fun to spray paint with him, because I learned so much. That's one thing I want to do some more soon too.
Me too. I'm trying to think of ideas on how to practice, because like
That's easy.
where do you practice?
You could just you
Or
could
do you
just
have
get a
materials?
big ass piece of wood.
That's true. A big piece of plywood.
Just get some plywood and leave it at your house, and you can paint over it as many times as you want.
And Aldi has these big signs. I usually use them for like barriers to like block paint when I'm doing little projects, but they have big signs. I could take those and like
Yeah.
paint them up. Because I haven't, like, the spray paint I do is not anything like those techniques. It's just like putting a very solid thing on a stencil and whatever.
Right.
But like,
You can mix them though and do some interesting stuff.
yeah, and I would love to. I really want to get into graffiti and stuff like that, and just kind of like, it's such a different art style, Like, it's a different process that you have to do.
Definitely. But I would say the best way would be getting a big piece of wood and just going to town, messing up and just figuring things out, and then take it somewhere else. I think I used to do like some graffiti or whatever, like under bridges and some random stuff, but those were really like kid stuff. Like I didn't do anything crazy until really recently. Another thing is getting really good paint.
Yeah, definitely.
Montana Gold. I don't know what you use for your stencil work, but Montana Gold, Montana is like a really good company, and just acrylic spray paint is gonna be like your best bet, and it looks so vibrant.
Yeah, and I remember you've told me that in the past, and I want to try that also because of the color variants, because I just use whatever I can find at like Walmart or Lowe's or whatever, just like Rust-Oleum or Krylon or something like that. But there's only I could probably like order special colors or like shades of colors, but there's pretty much just like the basic colors they have, and then like there's some variants of like grays and stuff like that, but there's not that many variants of other colors, and I've noticed it kind of does hinder me at some points. And
Definitely.
but yeah, I want to get into some more special paints. So more recently, like I think just Sunday, you did Peace Day, right? Is that what it was called?
Yeah.
How was that? I didn't get to go because I was at work, but how was that whole experience?
It was really cool, to be honest with you. One of the first things I noticed is that they weren't really selling alcohol, which I'm used to at events, you know, which kind of like make it kind of weird, but it was a really genuine event, you know. Everyone was really cool. There was a huge turnout. Shout out to Zakari from Casa Shanti. He put it on, and I think he did a really good job. Brought a lot of like beautiful people together, and you know, it was for the kids, it was for the adults. You know, we're spreading, you know, good practices. You know, there's a lot of art. There's a lot of people doing like, I don't know. There's some spiritual booths, like sort of all walks of life kind of conjoined into it, and we're all like getting along and, you know, spreading good vibes.
Yeah, I love events like that. Love Your Rebellion is having Zine Fest in October 19th, and she talked to me about setting up the skate ramps and like doing a little skate thing in the parking lot too.
Oh, wow.
And she said that there was an artist that she has going that is also a skateboarder. That's not you, is it?
No.
Someone else? Okay. Because I know, because it's at I think the place is called Nini's House or something like that.
Okay. I've never heard of it.
You never, because you did a logo for some business in downtown, right? Didn't you? Something like that?
Not downtown. I did something for a veterinarian's office off Daniels.
Nice. Okay. Because my brain was putting two and two together, and then
that'd be cool though.
Yeah,
I want to make my way downtown. I would love to do a mural downtown. I've tried. So I'm gonna keep trying.
Oh yeah, man. Says. Have you been into any more formal art settings, like art? I guess displaying your art in more formal settings, like Darby was saying, the Naples art shows. She doesn't like those because they're more like, I guess, like art snobs and whatnot. And also, I don't know anything about Art Walk, so I'm not saying anything bad. But Art Walk is more of like a formal thing where you have to like apply as an artist and like show your portfolio. Have you tried?
I'm actually glad you asked because there's something about that whole judging thing. So, well, for one, let me answer your question and then I'll go back. But the most formal event I've shown my work at was Casa Shanti, and they're like you know, bohemian like crystal shop / like healing. They do like Reiki and other things like that. And they showed my art, and I had a little show there, and I've still got my art up there. That's as far as I've gotten. I've never gotten into like a gallery or something like that. I haven't done Art Walk yet, but I do want to get into it, and I want to try that. And then maybe Art Basel eventually. That would be sick. I heard it's like $1,000 to have a booth.
Really?
Yeah, but I heard it's also worth it.
I bet. Just the exposure and whatnot.
Yeah.
Because people go from all over the world for Art Basel, you know?
Yeah, they do. And then let me get back to the judging thing is interesting because I guess during Art Walk over the past few years, there was a lot of people taking art and selling it there that weren't even artists. Like, it wasn't original art. It was like stuff from Amazon or stuff they made like fake stuff that wasn't even their own. So the judging there for it is they're actually judging to make sure that it's original art and the people are actually making the stuff, and then that's how they get them in. So it's not necessary. Now, I don't know how it works in Naples, you know what I mean, but I realized this recently talking to one of the people that runs it, this lady Wendy, who's really cool. She told me that, and I was like, oh, that actually like really makes sense, because I was hearing rumors about that, like, because I didn't go to Art Walk for a long time, and then I went to one of the last ones like a couple months ago, and they were telling me that people were selling like art that was like, you know, stuff they bought off Amazon or something. It's like, yo, that's fucked up.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
That's so fucked up.
Dang, and that would explain the application process, because I think I was talking with Darby about that, how like you submit a portfolio and it's almost like you gotta like, they'll say whether you're good enough to get in or not or whatever.
Right. That's another side of that situation. You know, it still might be like that, you know, where they are like, you know, this doesn't fit our vibe for Art Walk. I don't know. But that is a side that's like real, and that was actually happening. So
Yeah, and at the same time, I mean, it makes sense. If it's like a big art event, you can't just have like anyone like, hey, I want to put my art, and they only have like 3 pieces they've ever made, and like, you know, you kind of have to like regulate it in some way. So
yeah,
it would make sense to.
And people were taking advantage of it.
Yeah. Or you just get stuff on Amazon. Jeez, that's.
I know. I was like, who would do that?
I
Oh my
know.
god! But they're there.
Dude, even sometimes I try to not judge anyone, but even sometimes when I see people like at Aldi, sometimes we'll have like art that will sell. Like it's just called wall art. That's like what it's displayed as, but it's just like some printed. I mean, some artist made it, obviously, but it's just like sold in the grocery store. But I'm just thinking like, dude, there's so many artists just like down the road that you could check out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they'll sell it for like $10. Just like a $10 like.
Okay.
Painting or whatever, I don't know. That's a whole other topic.
You should just throw your grip at Aldi for the $10 price tag. You always sell out. They'll be like, oh, this is cool.
You
Yeah,
should, bro. You got the end.
Yeah, for real. I'll make a sign that just says shred grip, $10 each, and then when they bring it to the register, they'll be like, hey, can you go call me up if someone buys that shred grip? I'll just come up.
Oh, you actually have to cash out that.
You gotta cash out that to Professor Shred.
Yeah.
So all your art that I've seen, the images are real powerful. Do they mean anything to you specifically?
Definitely. Some of my earlier works are a little more subconscious based, where like they're kind of abstract, and I kind of let my subconscious fill up the page a little bit. But these days, I've been meaning to put more conscious efforts into what I'm producing. So. There's a little spiritual flavor on all of my art. I try to put some wisdom visually into the imagery and the concepts that I'm going along with, just like things like that I've learned over the years, and just trying to, for the most part, I'm trying to spread like a positive energy to the people that view it. I want the viewer to take something from my art. Sometimes that does call for explanation too, as much as I'd like to my art to speak for itself. Some people don't get it, and that's cool, because like it is what's the word, it's a different interpretation to people, you know what I mean? And they can definitely see different things to it, which I think's cool. But I certainly put, my soul into my art, and that's how I feel about it. Mm-hmm. And then like, as I get better and progress, and I find better ways to actually spread my message, I'll get better at like communicating that to people. Because at the end of the day, I really want my art to like touch the world in a positive way, and and then a lot of the things I'm sort of trying to do, like on Peace Day, we did this nice interactive piece, for instance, where I had a big canvas set up with a peace sign. I had everyone that I could get to come touch the piece. So it's like this community collab.
Yeah, I liked that.
Yeah, and then I got some work to do on it still, so you guys won't see it for a while. But once we get done, I'm going to try to auction it off and donate the proceeds to a couple charities that, I'm interested in helping out. And that's kind of what I want to do with my art at the end of the day, too. Not only do I want to, in some way, like make a life for myself, but I also want to change the world with it in a positive way, for sure. And I think if we all did a little something, we could actually make big strides in making the world a better place.
Hell yeah, man. do you try to have the titles and descriptions of your pieces kind of do a little bit of explaining as to what it means to you?
Yes, lately. That's one thing, like when I did my gallery show at Casa Shanti, I realized that, people, they do want an explanation sometimes, because it is so much up for interpretation. Like people can see different things. So a lot of times I notice when I explain it to people, they're like, oh my God, like it's a whole new piece to me. You know what I mean? And it's like this whole other thing. So I'm definitely now, like I've learned that I kind of need to, I do need to get that idea out to people in a way they can understand. So I've been working hard at doing that as well, and bringing the story to people. So for future stuff, like definitely I love talking to people about my art, and like each individual piece, it does change a lot from piece to piece. There's not like a general thing, but for the most part it's like, you know, just trying to help people, like, you know, take hold of their lives and, you know, act more consciously. And I really, really think it's important for people to take care of the planet. And I really think we need to stop, like, taking it for granted.
For sure. I agree.
Definitely. And you know, as I evolve, I'll be able to hopefully get that to as many people as possible. That's one reason I like the murals and stuff, because if I can spread that message that way, you know, you can't miss that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so to have like this big piece, you know, on some wall in a prominent place, like showing a positive message, that would be awesome.
Hell yeah. Have you noticed a trend of like the bigger pieces you work on, the more you like the more like energy and message you put into it rather than like the small ones? Like, is it like the more grand the piece is, the more grand of like message you're spreading, sort of?
No.
Like some of the smaller ones can mean just as much?
Yeah, definitely.
Hell yeah.
That's not like, yeah, that doesn't determine it. But if I did do something in a public place, like if they gave me a wall downtown, then I would really try to, you know, make an impact with that opportunity for sure.
All right, one thing we ask before we wrap up the episode is if you have any crazy like ghost stories or paranormal stories or anything like that, and it doesn't even have to be anything, just any crazy story before we wrap it up. Do you have anything in mind?
Ooh.
And it's fine if you don't. I don't have any stories. We could just move on to shout outs and all that.
True. Well, I mean, I guess the closest thing to that I could tell you about my like sleep paralysis that I was like having issues with for a long time, and I don't even know why it stopped happening. But so I don't know if you guys know about sleep paralysis, but basically for a long time I was like waking up where I felt like I couldn't move my body. So like it's like you know how when you go to sleep your brain does something to your body to where you don't act out your dreams, and it keeps you from moving. So it's almost like this thing was still going on, but I was awake. So you're in this really weird, like, you can't move, but you're usually in the room that like you fell asleep in. But it's like this half dream world, half reality thing going on, and like there's this crazy sense of fear, and it always seems like there's something behind you that's just dreadful. Yeah. And I would have those experiences like every single night for like years, bro. And it was crazy. Sometimes it would feel like there's like aliens behind you or something, but just some big like sense of fear going on. Like you can't move, you can't talk, and like as much as you struggle to like try to wake up, like, because after a while you're like, oh my god, this again, like what's going on? Like you're like trying to rip yourself out of it. And then that was like some of the craziest experiences I've had during that.
Do you normally like go back to sleep and then wake up fine, or is it like you snap out of it eventually in the paralysis, like where you're awake and then eventually your body wakes up?
Every single time. Oh, actually I can phase this into something else because I almost forgot. But well, you would literally, like, I would have to force myself out of it. Like I felt like I was fighting to get out of it, and then I would wake up. And sometimes I go back to sleep. I'd be like, okay, I'm good. Go back to sleep. Get back into it.
What?
But you know what's funny is it's really weird. This one time, so I used to like lucid dream a lot. I think this one theory I have about the sleep paralysis thing is that I feel like once you get past it, there's like this loud noise, and it started happening where when I would get into the sleep paralysis, it would be like a precursor to lucid dreaming. So the only way I could lucid dream is if I went through this first. So I'd get through it and like accept it, and like, I don't know, it was like I was a little younger when this was going on, but I would like I'd do the fighting and I would just get past to this point where I would like transcend it and I'd like leave my body when it happened and I'd like be flying around my neighborhood and like all this crazy stuff would happen. And I lucid dreamed probably like 15 times where it was like really vivid, and I was doing it over the course of like this couple month period.
Wow, dude.
That's crazy.
It was really amazing too. I wish I could still do that shit.
I've tried when I was younger in like high school, and I would always get to the point where I would feel like I'm like I could like feel like I'm like my like body's like whatever's leaving my body, and then like I would wake up, like something would happen. Like,
Yeah.
I'd hear a noise or something, and I'd just wake up regular.
Didn't you
Like,
have techniques? You would like track your dreams or something, and like that they'd say that.
Well,
would
there's
help?
like in your dream, like you can, what was it? You can like look at your hand or something, and like as long as there's lines running through your hand. No, what was it? Whenever you were in a place like in your dream, you can like try to look at your hands, like just like in your dream, tell yourself like look at your hands,
Right.
and then you'll like remember that place, and that's how like I heard like when you're trying to lucid dream that like if you want to go back to that place, you'd be trying to think like of the time that you're like looking at your hands.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard of like some crazy techniques. Like some people would like leave string hanging from their ceiling, and like whenever they were dreaming, if they saw that string, they would like reach for it and pull it, and then like they would start lucid dreaming or something.
What?
There's some crazy like ways to do it, but it's such a real thing because I've definitely experienced it. I actually forgot about it for a long time until like you brought this up. So I'm
So we
actually
do.
glad you asked.
That's what we do.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I've also heard with sleep paralysis, I've also heard that it's they say something about like a demon or like the shadow people or something, and like yeah, like it feels like there's something like sitting on your chest or something, and they say that it's like
Yeah.
or like you can see something in the room or something like that. Might be that feeling of dread you were talking about.
Yeah, exactly. For me, it always felt like it was behind me, not like on my chest. It always felt like it was behind me, but I couldn't move to like look. But I think the whole thing on your chest is that paralysis itself. where,
Yeah,
like,
You're not being able to move.
yeah, you just can't move and
Mhm.
like you'd be stuck. It's such a wild feeling, dude.
Dude.
It used to freak me out so bad until I got used to it, and I was like,
This again.
yeah.
That's crazy because I've heard stories about people who suffer from that a lot and whatever, and I've never like I've always like slept pretty good, I guess, except like some insomnia. But like,
Yeah.
dude, that would be scary as hell. Because I know that feeling of dread. You know, like when I was working at Aldi overnight, sometimes you just get that random feeling like someone watching you, and like you get like kind of cold. You just feel that fear. Imagining that just laying in bed for however long you're in the paralysis sounds terrifying.
Yeah, I feel like some of the like abduction stories or something are like centered around this like sleep paralysis like to the max or something.
Could be, yeah.
But I don't know, obviously. But it's such an interesting thing, and I don't even know why it stopped. I must be doing something right. Or...
For real, yeah. All right. It's been about an hour now. We could go ahead and wrap it up. But one thing, we'll let you can look at this camera and you can shout out anything you've got currently going on, you got coming up soon that you want people to stay tuned, stay looking at. You've got a lot going on, I know, with your art. I know it's only the beginning.
Definitely. If you want to just check out my page, I got nothing specific going on. But honestly, if you guys want to follow From My Heart Art, it's FromMyHeart_art, and that's on Facebook and Instagram. And you can keep up with everything I'm going to be doing. I got a lot of stuff in the works, so hopefully I'll be doing some beautiful things in the future. That's the plan.
Oh yeah, man. It's only the beginning. All right, and also don't forget to check us out wherever you're listening to this. Please like, rate it, leave a comment, share with your friends, do anything. Share it verbally if you do like what we talked about, or you think we're kind of funny or something like that, or you like how we're shining light on the talent around here. Let a friend know, or if you don't like us, let a friend know, so then they can give us a try. You know, we just want feedback. Here, you take it from here, Danny. I'm terrible.
All right, man. Thank you for coming on. This has been episode 30. Oh shit, episode
30 episodes.
of the City of Palms podcast.
There you go, even number.
Hey, so yeah, subscribe like he was saying. Subscribe to City of Palms podcast. Follow us on social media. New episodes every Monday. yeah, thank you guys for listening or watching. Hit him with that outro, Biscuit.
Yeah.